I'm the founder of Darwinbox. It's a new age HR technology platform for the developing markets. So we serve the markets which are first to where the majority of the employees are first time using a device. So there's using a device. Okay. So in their organization.
By the way, am I speaking loud enough now? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so they're using a device for the first time, so they're introduced to a mobile for the first time, and bringing enterprise software onto those mobile and onto those technologies that they're using is what we're trying to do. Today we are about 60 enterprises, 150,000 enterprise users, and you talked about working with large enterprises, and we're trying to do more and more of that. How do we ensure that the risk that these employees in these organizations see when they partner with us go away, in terms of it's a popular saying that you never get fired for taking IBM, right? But how do you counter that? How do you work with
it? Never get fired for taking Cisco.
And you've taken on large companies in your journey.
All the time.
Yeah, and how do you work with that risk that they perceive more than what it is actually there?
So this is part of the sales cycle, and it's important that you've got to say in the customer environment, what's really important to them. Is your product superior to what they already have? If it's not superior and the other company's got a great relationship, you're probably better off going on to another location. You've got to be able to articulate your product differentiation well, and then you've got to identify what we call the Fox. I have a common vocabulary for innovation. Who's going to be your backer in that account that she or he will really be your champion and will help you sell internally in the direction on it? And then how do you help them be successful and align toward the direction on it? How many of your engineering backgrounds? How many of your general management background? Okay. So what's the hardest thing those of you in general management have to do? The hardest hire you have to make. The one that's most difficult for you to judge, and one that early on in your career is most difficult to judge, are they doing a good job?
I think it's the right person to hire.
I think getting the team, the core team together, and then retaining them.
Yeah, but you'll figure out how to do that. What you're going to miss with the general background is engineering. Your ability to judge an engineer, because usually the more articulate a great engineering lead is, the rest good, she's not near as good or he's not near as good with execution. And so judging engineering talent is the hardest one for my CEO startups that are general management background. What is the hardest for you engineers? How many engineers in the room? You're going to mess up the sales selection. You're going to try to judge a salesperson who fits into that team, who sells like an engineer, almost a business development person. Jan, odds on that being successful? 0. And so you want to know what you know and know what you don't. And don't think because you're really smart in one area, you automatically will be really smart in the other, because it will really get you into trouble. And so when you really think about sales, if you're an engineering background, you probably want to select that head of sales very carefully, she or he able to recruit very well on it in terms of the direction. And sales, very honestly, is measurement conscious and compensation conscious. Where most of the other positions you build your team off of will be more, I'm in it for the longer run, I love the teamwork, I want the direction. A sales leader, if she or he is really good, is focused on this week, this month, this quarter, this year. And only 10% carries over the next year. The rest of your company should be thinking further out. So recruiting that right player becomes very key, who can manage through it. You get really good sales leads who knows channels and knows global, then your odds on success go up dramatically. I had one of my drone companies that was really brilliant product, but we did not have a sales lead. The sales lead was business development, and we got into trouble. And even though the customers love us, we couldn't close the order. And once we got a world-class salesperson in, it took him literally 4 months to turn the whole process around.
Okay, go ahead, you've got a question.
Hi John, this is Sanjeev. I'm CEO of WOW.
Yes.
We are a SaaS company. We build alumni networks for educational institutions and corporates.
Yes.
For the last 3 years, we have been building alumni networks for educational institutions in India. We have about 120 plus paying customers here. Yes. So over 3 years, we also ventured into corporate alumni networks, building India's first corporate alumni network for Qualcomm. Yes. And also we built a leadership network for United Nations in Africa, connecting the IT and ICT ministers. So my question is like, how do, at this stage, like we are mostly bootstrapped and we don't have any external funding. So with the limited resources that we have, what should we focus on? Like spreading into different segments and different geographic areas, or focusing on India, and we have about 20,000 educational institutions in India itself. That's a huge market. So should we focus on this market?
Yes. How many people in your organization?
18.
1-8.
18. And how much capital have you got? What's your burn rate per month?
So burn rate is it's less than 10 lakhs per month. 10 lakh rupees per month.
And how much money do you have in the bank?
We have a runway of about 4 months.
Okay. So one of the most important things you do that gets startups in trouble is the availability of funding. It's also level setting your investors with when are you going to run out of cash and what are you focused on. And that's where companies get into more trouble than anything else. They scale too quickly, they spread themselves too thin, they aren't realistic on when the revenue is going to occur, because take your most likely revenue forecast, it's probably going to be wrong. You want to build caution into it and hope that it is earlier than you think. And with only 18 people, to be focusing globally across multiple segments is extremely high risk. So to get 1 or 2 segments right, and to maybe focus on a market where you get your leverage, begin to get your cash flow going, begin to get your customer needs, your product differentiation down, and then expand beyond it is, I think, the highest probability of success. Every once in a while, you can throw money down in Las Vegas and hit the lottery, but that's not a way to run a company. So I think you have to run it with discipline, balancing the ability to dream with that discipline.